Hey, it's Alex. Welcome back. This is our week 1 video for the 8-week reboot. And the name of this week is A Great Day Starts the Night Before. And this should be really good news to everybody because you never again have to say, I am going to start dieting, exercising, being healthier, having better habits, whatever, tomorrow. Because now you know that you can start today. No matter how badly your day started, you can start today working towards better habits and a better tomorrow. So there are 3 components of this. Number 1, eat an earlier, lighter dinner. Number 2, have a calming bedtime routine. Number 3, get to bed early. And the subheading of number 3 is to get 8 hours of sleep. So first we're going to talk about earlier, lighter dinners. And with that, I am going to give you a little lesson in Ayurvedic digestion. I'm also going to send you this handout from Kate that will teach you a little bit more about it. We're going to talk about 2 things that do not have a literal translation into English, and they are the concepts of Ama and Agni. I'm going to go into Agni first. Agni is our digestive fire, and it's not literally a fire, obviously, but it acts very much like a fire. Think about like when you go camping and you have a campfire. If you throw cold water on it, it kind of sputters and doesn't really do what it's supposed to do. Doesn't really flame up anymore. And that's exactly what happens when you throw something cold. Like there was some talk on the forum this morning about cold smoothies. When you throw something cold on your digestive fire, it doesn't work as well. It doesn't work optimally. Our digestive fire is strongest at midday. And really from about 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., that's when our digestion works the best. And this is now supported by Western scientific research that is, in fact, when our digestion is strongest. So our biggest meal really should be in the middle of the day. I'm not going to get too much into that right now because we'll talk about that a lot more when we get into our weeks on eating. But with traditional people and even in American society pre-industrial revolution, lunch was the biggest meal of the day and dinner was kind of a supplement. It was a smaller meal just to tide you over until the next morning. And you want to be done digesting by the time you go to bed. When you're sleeping, that's time for metabolism, a time for rebuilding, a time for deep rest. It's not the time that you're supposed to be digesting. And if you're digesting when you're trying to do those other things, then you're not doing those other things optimally. So that's why dinner should be lighter. And I'm going to get more into that in a couple of minutes. Ama is waste. It's toxins. It's sludge. We have physical ama and we can have emotional ama as well. If you want to get a good look at physical ama, take your tongue scraper, which you should have a tongue scraper. If you don't already have a tongue scraper, you should get one. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them from Banyan Botanicals. I'll put the website for Banyan Botanicals on the forum, but you can just as easily get them from Amazon. Scrape your tongue, and if there is a thick, whitish or yellowish or chunky goop that comes off your tongue, you have ama. That is ama coming off your tongue. Excess weight is also ama. Cellulite is ama. Chronic aches and pains are ama. Brain fog, inability to concentrate, that's ama. Depression and anxiety can be signs of ama. So what we want to do is we want to minimize our ama and maximize our agni. So that's what we're working towards here. And one way to do that, one of the best ways to do that, is to not be digesting our food while we're sleeping. So that's why. And now the question is how. In our society, we tend to eat dinners later. It's cooler to eat dinner later. Old people eat dinner early bird special. We don't want to be like that. But if we want to age gracefully and feel good until we are old people, we should take it from them and start eating earlier now. So don't make it drastic. If you eat dinner at 8 o'clock at night, don't suddenly try to do 5 o'clock. We're going to focus throughout this program on a philosophy called Kaizen, which is a Japanese philosophy which came around after World War II when Japan was rebuilding. And it's based on taking small steps to get big results. And so we're going to Kaizen this. If you eat dinner late, dial it back by 15 minutes a night. Or do it a few times a week. You don't have to do it every single night. Just do it a few times a week and see how you feel. As far as making it lighter, same thing. If you're used to having a big meat and potatoes meal at 8 o'clock at night, don't suddenly say, well, I'm just going to have miso soup at 5, because you're setting yourself up for failure. Try making your dinner just 10% smaller than it normally is. And then you can play with that. You can do that a few times a week. You can have your bigger meals on the weekends. You can have bigger meals a few times a week. You can have an earlier meal that's a little bigger, or a later meal that's a little lighter. So play with it, work with it, see how you can make that earlier, lighter dinner be a reality for you. And it may take some time. And, there's some challenges in getting there. But experiment and work with your family to make it happen. Another thing is intermittent fasting. I want to just kind of touch on. It's become a real buzzword these days. You hear about it on the internet, and all the, habit gurus and stuff are talking about intermittent fasting. And it's something that, even though it seems like it's a new and trendy thing, Ayurveda has been recommending for centuries. And there's a few different ways you can play around with it. You can fast 1 day a week. You can do a water fast, or you can do a juice fast. And when I say a juice fast, I don't mean go out and buy juice. I mean fresh green juice that you make yourself with your juicer, or you go to Whole Foods and get, but not like juice from a can or a jar. Another way of doing intermittent fasting, which I've been experimenting with for the past week, is having 16 hours between your dinner and your breakfast the next morning. So you eat dinner like between, around 5, and then you don't eat breakfast until like 9 o'clock the next morning. So you have this big space between dinner and breakfast. And 16 hours seems to be the magic number, but it doesn't have to be. It can be, maybe it's 14 hours. And these are just things, again, to play around with, that using your body as a science experiment and seeing what works for you. Playing with the earlier, playing with the lighter, and, playing also with the intermittent fasting. All right. And the last thing I want to say on that is, after dinner, close the kitchen. I've been doing this for years. It drives my daughter insane. Be done. Close the kitchen. If you're going to have dessert right after dinner, not several hours later. Have your dinner, have your dessert, and then close the kitchen until the morning. And, make it real. No more snacking, no late night snacking, no going in and grabbing a handful of nuts or ice cream or cookies or whatever it might be. Have your dinner, have your sweet bite after dinner if you want to, and then close the kitchen. Kitchen's closed. Okay, moving on to the evening routine. Chillax in the evening. Rest in the evening. Try to minimize screen time. Try to stop working. Try to stop emailing. If you read on a Kindle, make sure you have the nighttime setting for it. Have some herbal tea. Take a warm bath or a shower. Rub some oil on your feet. Any of those things that just get you in that ready to go to bed mode. And another just side note on that is keep your bedroom pleasant for sleeping. Bedroom's really, they're for sleeping and sex, and that's it. So get your computer out of there, get your work papers out of there, get your cluttery mess out of there, and make your bedroom really lovely. So you walk in there and you're like, oh yeah, I want to go to sleep here. This is nice. Okay, on to early to bed. I would like to dispel a very common myth right now. There is no such thing as being a night owl. Let me say that again. There is no such thing as being a night owl. Human beings are primates. Primates are diurnal creatures. There are no nocturnal primates. Being a night owl is an imbalance. And you might say, well, I've been a night owl since I was a kid. It's an imbalance that you've been carrying forward for decades. The good news is that you can do something about it. The evening routine will help. Getting yourself in that mellow space before bedtime. Goal is lights out at 10. Again, if you're a night owl, you're going to Kaizen this. You're going to do this slowly. If you're going to bed at, after midnight, you can dial it back by 15 minutes, and then dial it back by another 15 minutes. And there might be some nights that you get into bed and you're lying there for a little while and it takes you a while to fall asleep. And that's okay. Any change is going to take a while to really start working. So take it slow, take it easy, and just dial it back. So this is where experimentation comes in. Try a few different suggestions that I've made here today and see what works for you. Here's just some more ideas that you might want to try. If you have evening activities, have dinner before you go. Even if it's 4 o'clock, have your main meal then. And then when you get home, if you're famished, have something really small. Have a cup of soup or some more milk or something like that, just if you're absolutely famished. If you aren't famished, then great, just go to bed. Then you're in your intermittent fast until the morning. So that's something you can try. Another thing is, and this is not my thing, but I know some people who do this and it works for them, is they will actually eat before their family. They'll eat, their meal 4 or 5 o'clock, and then when their family comes home, they'll sit and have a cup of tea with them and chat with them and still have their bonding time, but not eat. That's not something that I really like to do. For me, I like the ritual of sitting down and having dinner with my family, so I'm not going to not have dinner with my family. But if that's not your thing, if that's not a big deal in your family, then it's certainly something that you could do. Just have your dinner and then just sit and hang out with them. You're still spending time with them. You're just not eating when they're eating. Try it out a few nights a week. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It shouldn't be all or nothing. Just have your earlier dinner a couple of nights a week. Have your stay up late and watch movies a couple nights a week, and then try to get into bed earlier on the other nights. Make your meals simple. Make your dinners really simple. Stella and I, we pretty much, in the summer, our dinner is salad every single night. In the winter, it's something warm, but it's something simple. Sometimes it's soup. Sometimes it's a protein and a little bit of a grain, or a protein and a little bit of a vegetable, but it's small. It's not the biggest meal of the day. And the more you can shift your mindset out of dinner being the biggest meal of the day, the better it's going to be for you. You can make deals with your family, make deals with your partner and your kids. If your partner wants to stay up late and watch TV, maybe you say, well, you come to bed early with me a couple of nights a week and I'll stay up later with you a couple of nights a week. Or maybe you go to bed before your partner a couple of nights a week and then you stay up later a couple of nights a week. If you like to have a big family dinner, maybe you do that on weekends. Like Stella and I will generally have a big meal on Fridays and Saturdays. But the nice thing about that is we have time and we can have it earlier. So if I'm going to cook a big dinner, we'll have it earlier and I've got the time to do it, and the rest of the week are just the small, simple meals. So that's something that you can do too. So all just suggestions. Try it, play with it. I would like you to read the first 2 chapters of Body Thrive this week. Kate will give you some more suggestions and some more in-depth information on why it's a good idea to do all of these things. And I'm really hoping that the audio recorded, because this is my second time recording this video. The first time the audio didn't record. So anyway, namaste.